All right, so we're going to do an eBay unboxing. Now, I really like to collect vintage and antique crucifixes and crosses. And so, like, you'll see a lot of these type of things on eBay being sold. A lot of these were made with ebonized wood or ebony wood. It was a similar wood to ebony, but they call it ebony, but it's really not ebony. It's because ebony is a very, 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 what's the word I'm looking for? A very scarce species of tree. And so here I found somebody selling a crucifix on Etsy for $89.95. It's only 1 inch and 3/4 big. And they have the original catalog from one of the makers in Germany making these crucifixes. And I found out some interesting information. So we'll go over that. So let's look close up at these different ebonized with nickel metal. A lot of them contain nickel metal. Let's blow this up and take a look at it if my computer will cooperate. Here we go. Here. And so, like, a lot of these, it's going to be blurry, of course, but a lot of these crucifixes are highly sought after. A lot of people assume that most of these are antique, and most of them actually are vintage, the 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s. Then they stopped really making crucifixes like these with ebony and metal trim going around it. And so there was this company by the name of, let's go ahead and check them out, Joseph Bonsell. And I found some interesting information because I always thought these were like really mass produced and not by hand. Okay, so I found some history. Here is the man himself, Joseph Emile Bonsell, and his cross factory. And apparently it started, I'm like reading it along with you guys. Let's see, it says he was born in Saint Julien in France on November 28, 1891. And let's see, let's check it out. It says he was the last of 3 children and an excellent smith, meaning metalsmith. And he began his apprenticeship in the blacksmithing trade with him, but he died suddenly in 1906 when Joseph, that's his father, was only 15 years old. Orphaned by his father, he is taken care of by his uncle Pierre Alphonse. He finds himself in the company of his first cousins who considered him their junior. Uncle and cousins worked at the Comte factory. Joseph continued his apprenticeship there until he was made a worker mechanic. He then joined his eldest cousin, and where he remained until before the war of 1914 to 1918. During the war, he manufactured steel parts for the army. And it says at the end of the war in 1919, Mr. Cabot, the owner of a religious jewelry factory in Saint Julien, offered Joseph to take over his factory. So in about 1919, the factory begins. Okay, very interesting. Now, a lot of people think most of these crucifixes are from the 1800s. And it says the specialty was to cast brass crosses inlaid with ebony, nicknamed crosses of the Good Death, or Memento Mori, and or Golgotha crosses, which I'll show you in a few moments. Thus, in 1919, Joseph took over the factory, then modernized its manufacturing, and created numerous models. Its products are renowned, and the name Saint Julien Molin Molet is known on all 5 continents. At the peak of its activity, the factory employed 80 workers. Furthermore, in 1924, Joseph set up a filing workshop in Rio Tort in Haute-Loire. I can't pronounce French. For the maintenance of the weaving factory looms. The cross manufacturing factory celebrated its 100th anniversary in 1966. So apparently that original factory began in 1866. So some of these crucifixes are from 1866. They're that early. Unfortunately, Joseph was unable to participate, having died shortly before in 1965 at the age of 74. He managed the company for 42 years and passed it on to his son Marius in 1961. Now recently, I think as recent as 6 years ago, the factory finally retired and shut down. And so I'm trying to see if there's any photos that we can look at that are interesting. Let's blow this up. And this is the location of Saint Julien Mollet in La Champ des Foires, France. And if I pronounce that incorrect, don't be a prick in the comments below and try to, like, be one of those, you pronounced that wrong. Who cares? Let's find out, is there any of the catalog? I'm looking for the catalog. This is fascinating. When you collect something and you find information, it is really fascinating. We can't find any more info. Let's go back to Google, because Google is your friend sometimes. And again, here's the factory catalog of some of his pieces with another crucifix that a seller on Etsy is actually selling, showing the familiarity of the crucifix to the one Bonsell made. And really interesting stuff here. Can we get any more images on Google? No. I guess there's a lot of people by the same money. I said money. I meant name. Why did I say money? Something made me think of the word money. And yeah, I thought I saw something that said money, and then it like made my brain just have a brain fart. And yeah. Oh yeah, Moderna CEO says he's not losing any money. Yeah, because he's making us all get the jab. Well, I'm not doing it. All right, let's get back to the video. Oh, I have OCD. That's where I saw that. No government, no money, no problem for this dude, because he's the CEO of Moderna, and he's going to try to inject poison into your veins so he can smile and take it all to the bank. Now, I have a bunch of crucifixes in my collection, and I believe this one is a Bonsell, or at least one by the earlier crucifix creating, or creating a crucifix foundry. A foundry is like a metalsmith maker. And this one's a very, very old one with ebonized wood. How can I tell? Because if you look closely, you'll see file marks. Do you see file marks on the wood? And you'll see file marks on the back. That's how you can tell the difference between one that was made in the 19th century and one that was made in the 20th century. I'll show you also the notation of no mark of country of origin is a dead ringer for the fact that this was probably made prior to 1895, which is very interesting. I think this one may be a Bonsell crucifix. Sometimes these are made in Germany. A lot of companies made these in Germany as well, and France. And so France, Italy, and Germany were the three top crucifix makers with these wood inlays. And this one, I believe, is German. And it says Roma on the back, meaning it came from like the Vatican. But it was actually, these crucifixes were made for souvenir shops for tourists, and many different countries of origin, including, like I said, France, Germany, and there's schmutz over here. I don't like schmutz. France, Germany, and Italy made crucifixes in the same style, where they're almost synonymous with each other, where you can't tell the difference between who made it and who didn't. For example, we have this beautiful crucifix right here. This is made in 1925, and there's no denotion or any kind of like markings that say the country of origin on it, but I am guessing it's either French by Bonsell or German. Okay, so here are some Bonsell crucifixes, and these are all, I'm gonna guess, between 1918, like right after World War I, all the way up to the 50s. Like this one here. This one is about the 50s or the 40s. Now, a lot of people erroneously will list these on eBay and say these are antique, but these are more vintage, close to about antique. So some of these, like, for example, like this one was made in the 30s. Let's check it out. Look at that. And so when you see this halo like this is an older one with the inlay of this ebonized type of wood, and it has brass and nickel. And on the back, you'll generally see right here the crown of thorns. Some of them will have the skull of Golgotha right there. That means memento mori. It means you will rise from the dead like Christ did. And here's another example. This one, again, probably the 20s to the 30s. Really quite lovely. And you see the workmanship on this is absolutely amazing. Now, I did further research, and I found out that some more interesting facts, which I'll get to later. Now, these don't have the country of origin. Sometimes you will see a stamp that says Germany in the very bottom, Italy, or France. These are all unmarked, I believe. This one, yeah, this one is what you call a relic, or actually a reliquary crucifix. You unscrew it, it opens up, and there are holy saint relics in it. This one as well is a holy relic or reliquary crucifix. but these are the ones here are just profession crucifixes. So generally, a lot of priests and nuns would have had these crucifixes hanging from their rosary or hanging from around their belts. They had belt rosaries or hanging from their necks, which is quite interesting. You will see a lot of bunk when people list these on eBay, and they will say, for example, they'll take one like this and say, this was a chaplain cross from a German in World War II. And they'll say basically battlefield cross. It's all bull crap. Most of the stories is bull crap. It's just to get you to pay more money. So generally, the most sought after will be the larger size ones. So the ones that are 6 inches or taller will be the most sought after and go for the most money. Now, the ones that are actually the most rare, the rarest, would be the ones that open up, like these two here, that holds holy relics. Now, if the holy relics were cleaned out, a lot of times you will buy these crucifixes that open up and hold relics in it. The relics will be missing because people scrape them out of there and actually place them into other reliquaries and sell them. There'll be multiple, say, relics, like 12 of them going this way and this way. And people will take one of them out at a time and put them in personal reliquaries and sell them each separately to make a profit. And so a lot of times, 9 times out of 10, you will find these reliquary crucifixes, which are, if they're filled with their contents, worth at least $500 to $2,000, depending on which saint relics are in there and how many. The more, the better, and the bigger, the better. And yeah, a lot of times you'll find these cleaned out and have absolutely nothing inside of them, which sucks. Now, a lot of people will go on message boards and say World War II German chaplain cross. People that collect military objects will go on these sites because they see all the bunk all over the internet of these things being called military crucifixes or German. Here's an example of somebody posing it with a German World War II uniform, and they sell them on eBay, and it's all bunk and bull crap. 9 times out of 10, this was not a World War II crucifix. Here's an example of such thing. 200 and I'm getting offers declined on me right now as we speak. Okay, 250 doll hairs for something that is not World War II. And you see here, 6.5 inches chaplain, German chaplain pictorial crucifix, cross ebony wood, bullcrap. This is not true. And like I said, 9 times out of 10, here's a marking. It would be on the bottom. It does say Germany, but it does not mean, if it says Germany, that it is a World War II chaplain's pectoral crucifix. It's just trying to get big bucks. So here's my proof that P.T. Barnum once said, a sucker is born every minute. And someone paid, yes, this item sold out, someone paid $349.26 for a rare, large World War II antique German chaplain pectoral crucifix, cross, ebony, wood with skull and crossbones with 2 religious medals. Now, for the most part, these were used by clergy, nuns, and priests, and actually regular, everyday worshipers. But it's like insane. All you have to do is place a really cool story with an item, and sometimes you can get a lot more money. For example, Estate Fresh, rare, antique Germany, pectoral crucifix cross, worn date is approximately 1930s and 40s. Yes, the cross is from then. And it has 2 religious medals attached by a ribbon. These were worn by chaplains in the German military, showing examples relating in the last 2 pictures. Please remember all items are vintage and blah, 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 blah. And so let's check it out. Yes, they were worn by the World War II soldiers. There is proof that that is true, but not every single one of these was worn by a World War II soldier. So it could have been just a regular priest or nun or regular person's crucifix. And just by putting this really neat and fun story, you can get $349.26 for this crucifix that's probably worth no more than $50. Now, again, here's some of my examples. And again, a lot of people put the erroneous description that these are 19th century or 1800s when they're clearly not. Out of all of these, which one is from the 19th century? This one over here. And again, so let's take a look at it. And what are the telltale signs? The telltale signs are that it is, you see the file marks? The file marks, it's showing you that this was hand done, as opposed to This one over here without the file marks. You do not see file marks. Now, not all of them are Golgotha or Memento Mori ones. The Memento Warrior, don't mind me. Memento Mori ones would have the skull and crossbones at the bottom. The ones that are not Memento Mori ones are ones without the skull and crossbones. Now, sometimes they do go missing. The skull and crossbones fall off the actual crucifix. You'll see like a little hole or a nail mark in there without the, with the absence of the skull and crossbones. So sometimes you'll see that. Don't buy it then. Also the INRI will be above the head like that and like that and like that. And sorry for the shadows. And like that. This one is missing it. So let's get in there close. You see it like a little nail head. That once had that INRIE, meaning that Christ is the king. And let's see, did it have a Memento Mori on here? There's no evidence that there was a nail in that spot or a hole. So, yeah, that's how you can actually also date your crucifixes. No file marks. Then it was cast most likely in a mold. Not to actually say that these weren't handmade, even without the file marks. A lot of these were handmade, but these older ones with the file marks are actually real antiques. These generally are being sold all over the internet as antiques when they're not. Again, early 20th to mid 20th century. And a lot of people putting a crazy story that this was a World War II battle crucifix. Not true. All right, let's get to the unboxing, and I'll show you what I got. All right, I didn't want you crack maniacs to see my address, so let's get this open. Now, why do I collect these? I collect these because they still make them, but they mass produce them in China, mostly. A lot of them actually are still made in Italy as well, and stuff like that, but a lot of them are just mass produced, made by the millions, sold by Catholic supply stores, and they have no character. Even if they look identical to these, they have no character. I don't like them because of that. I don't like mass-produced stuff, even though these were mass-produced, but these were more handmade. Now, I did read a story about Van Sal, the French maker, who actually hired monks and I guess friars and brothers from the local monasteries to actually apprentice to make metals, do metal work and jewelry making, which they had a lot of these fellows from the local monasteries coming down and making these crucifixes by hand. And so it's really interesting. So let's check this one out. Now this one, the seller wanted $199 for. They really didn't know much about it. Now, the price is subjective on these. Like you saw someone selling one for $349. I see them being sold between $20 and $30 to $40 on eBay all day long. And so price is subjective. I talked them down to $100. I overpaid because occasionally these come along for way cheaper. Not very often, but they do. But the reasoning behind the fact that I wanted this was because, I'll show you in a moment, what I find interesting about this is it's a theme. It's a theme crucifix. So what is a theme crucifix? Basically, it's my own term, by the way. This is, again, one of those ebonized wood pieces. Some of these are marked Germany. Some of these are marked France or Italy. Made mostly, again, by the brothers or the monks in the monasteries. But this one is special. And what's special about it, let's get in here close. This is a 1925 annual year Pope Pius the 11th crucifix. So this was made in 1925, only in 1925, and pilgrims that would go to the Vatican on that holy year would probably purchase these at tourist shops. And these were actually sold. Now, you can see this is black as the Ace of Spades. These have medals of the certain basilicas in Rome. And you can see it's very dirty. I'm going to clean it. So the seller was not aware that this was an annual 1925 crucifix, which I'll show you more research in a moment. So if you look on top, in Regno, it says Pax Regno, I can't really read it right now. Pax Christi Regno Christi. I guess that means something to do with peace and the King Jesus Christ. And this was the Pope's annual, you could see the holy the Holy See and the Pope breaking down the door, which is a thing that they do when they become Pope. They take a hammer and they break down the door. And then above you see Jesus Christ overlooking the Pope. And this is the 1925 medal. Now, you would never be able to tell that, right? Because you're looking at it, it's black as the Ace of Spades. The reason it's black as the Ace of Spades is because, let's just zoom. Okay, I'm trying to get like the whole ticket here. Is because it's silver, most likely silver or silver plated. Now, if you're a coin collector or I guess somebody that collects not even monetary coins, like if you like to collect metals or you like to collect coins, old coins, you will definitely love something like this. So this has a multi-tier aspect to it. People that collect Vatican things, people that collect Grand Tour souvenirs, and people that collect religious articles, and also people that collect medals. So this is really something special. All you have to do is clean this up a little with some Simichrome, and this will look amazing. So take a look at it. Now I'm going to show you what the metal should look like. We'll go ahead and this is research. This is research if you're a crucifix collector or a metal collector. This may be some interest to you. All right, so this is the actual metal. It's supposed to look like this if you clean. Well, this is not even polished, but let's get in there. And it says Pax Christi in Regno Christi. And I took Latin, and I believe this means something to do with king. And of course, Christi is Jesus Christ. Pax in Latin means peace. And this is the other side of what the metal would look like in the crucifix. And then we have, it says Pontius Maximus, and it's Pope the 11th, Pope Pius the 11th, and 1925. So that crucifix is 99 years old, which is quite cool. I found a few other ones. Let's check them out. And here we go. And here's what it looks like, all shined up like a new penny. And really beautiful. This was a medallion, 1925 silver medal holy year. And it was made by a certain metal worker by the name of Kissing, which is quite cool. And there's what it should look like. Really quite beautiful. And then the other side of that coin would actually have this on it. I don't know why they chose this side as opposed to this side to place on the crucifix, but I guess, hey, we never know. Now, there was a lot of different medals commissioned by popes of today and popes of yesteryear. This Pope Pius the 11th was from 1922 to 1939, and here are a multitude of different medals you can collect on this various pope. And you can see a lot of different designs, really, really interesting. And these are all mainly for the 20s and 30s. So let's go ahead and take a look. And here's Pope Pius the 11th opening up the holy door. They do that with a hammer, which is quite interesting. And here we go. Here's some various different medals that if you're collecting, you will want to find these on crucifixes because they're quite interesting. And again, here we go. Look at some of the beauty behind these. These are just absolutely stunning. And it can help you date your crucifix. Now, I do have a crucifix with this metal on it as well. And this is, what date is this even? 1929. So I have a crucifix also from 1929 with this main metal in the middle part where Jesus would be on the crucifix. And again, there's lots of different metals. This one is astoundingly gorgeous. And lots of different metals that you can collect on various popes. It doesn't even have to be coins. And if you collect silver, especially some of these come in bronze, many different kinds of metals, you will love to collect pope medals. They're really interesting. All right, so we're going to clean this. We're going to do one of those fast motion videos. It gives people satisfaction to watch dirty things become clean again. And so we're going to do this in slow-mo, so I hope you stick around. And then we're going to get to value and how rare these are and how easily found. So look at before, where you can hardly even see the image on this. I mean, it's that badly tarnished. And we're going to see after. All right, so take a gander at this and remember how it looks. And then we're going to do a before and after with a fast motion cleaning. All right, so all the products you see here that I'm using to clean this old Crucifix will be in the description below. You can click on them and buy them. I even use this Denture brush. It's fantastic for getting in the nooks and crannies. Q-tips, Murphy's oil soap. I put it in a spray bottle to clean the wood with Q-tips and condition it. And this is a great polishing cloth. These are usually under 10 bucks. They have the silver cleaner and the metal cleaner. You can clean gold jewelry with this, brass, any kind of metal. It's built in, but it's never enough. So I use Simichrome. So I add a little Simichrome onto the object and rub it in. Here's the clean side you rub with. And this side is the buffing side. So at the end, when you're done cleaning your metal, you're going to rub it with this cloth to get like a really beautiful, brilliant shine. Let's get started. We'll do this in fast motion. By the way, if you live in California, your commie governor won't allow you to buy Simichrome polish because they think you might mishandle it and maybe eat it and poison yourself. Okay, so look at the big difference. It's a miracle. It's an actual miracle. Now, I didn't clean it. I could clean it much more, but I'd like to leave some of the patina on it. But look at the difference. We're going to keep doing this in fast motion. All right, so I'm wearing a black leather glove because after all that work you saw me go through, I don't want to go through that again. And look how clean this is. All right, so look at the medallion now in the center, and here's it before. I mean, that is crazy. Now you can actually read it, and you can see the different chapels in the Vatican, the different churches and basilicas. There we go. And this is absolutely gorgeous. So what is something like this worth? It's subjective. It's really subjective. So the person put a price of $199 on it. Is it worth $199? It could be worth 5 nickels. It could be worth 5 nickels. But basically, actually I'm going to take this glove off because this is hard to maneuver. So since this was only made in the holy year of 1925, this has some value to it because it's just for 1 year only. So you don't find these too often. Was it made by the company I told you? I don't know. It could have been made in Germany, France, or Italy, but they all made the same type of crucifixes. This one is called a trefoil. It's butted out on the corners. Generally, like the ones I showed you, will be straight across. You don't see too many of these butted out versions, whether with the medallions or without. You will find them occasionally with just the Jesus on it, and that is it, pretty much, or a relic holder, and that's about it. But these are actually with the metals. It's my estimate, if I was to resell this and leave it there for 6 months to a year, I would not sell this for less than $250 to $575. Thanks for watching. I hope you learned something. If you did, put a 1 in the comments below, and happy collecting, because this is a lot of fun.